very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Primetime News, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka, and as always we'll start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Concrete beam along the Mirigama-Kadawatha Expressway collapses. 2 other concrete beams at risk. Funds allocated for the renovation of the Parliamentary complex. All set for the GCE ordinary level examination. Health sector cautions general public on rising temperature. Deadline to file claims and objection on electoral lists to expire tomorrow. 1 person shot at Horana. Gunman who attempted to flee the country arrested at the BIA.
And now the stories in detail. A concrete beam along the section of the Mirigama-Kadawatha Expressway that had been partially constructed has collapsed. Now the Road Development Authority says that 2 other concrete beams are also at risk.
A concrete beam along the section of the Mirigama-Kadawatha Expressway that had been partially constructed, located in Kada-Oluwava, Bemmulla, collapsed at about 5:45 last evening. The residents in the area had heard a loud noise when the beam collapsed.
We heard a loud noise. Since it could have been dangerous, I came onto the road about 10 minutes later. Then I saw a beam had collapsed. Usually 3-wheelers of people who cultivate in the area are parked there and they go there to drink tea. But that has not happened on that date. Many say that the other beams could also be of that quality. It is a mystery why this happened, because there were no vehicles in the area. There wasn't even a gush of wind or any sort of disturbance. The beam just collapsed.
The collapsed beam is about 35 meters in length. The Road Development Authority said that 2 other concrete beams are at risk. Construction of the Central Expressway began in 2017. The expressway was to be constructed from Kadawatha to Dambulla under 4 phases. A 39.29 kilometer section of the Central Expressway from Mirigama to Kurunegala was opened to the general public. According to the Road Development Authority, the laying of concrete beams in this section of the highway had ended in 2021. The first section of the Central Expressway is 37 kilometers long and extends from Kadawatha to Mirigama. 20% of the construction of this section has concluded. However, due to the economic crisis, the construction of this section of the expressway was suspended.
We can see that it is one of 11 beams which has been constructed for the expressway to resume. However, our concern is to ask the authorities as to what has caused this collapse of the beam.
Why did this concrete beam collapse?
Authorities have not yet confirmed the reason for the collapse of this concrete beam.
Doesn't the collapse of this concrete beam raise concerns about the integrity of the other concrete beams along the Central Expressway?
The Road Development Authority said that the integrity of all the other concrete beams along the 17-kilometer section of the expressway where the collapsed beam is located will be tested. The authorities added that relevant officials will be informed about the situation and remedial action will be looked into.
A decision has been reached to renovate the Parliamentary complex.
The Parliamentary Staff Advisory Committee, chaired by the Speaker, convened on the 25th of April. At the meeting, the committee had decided to renovate the 40-year-old parliamentary complex located in Sri Jayawardenapura Kote.
We made several decisions in response to this issue. We decided to hand over the renovation to the Urban Development Authority, the Central Engineering Consultants Bureau. I granted approval for the funds required for the renovation for this year as the representative of the Minister of Finance. We also reached a policy agreement on providing the rest of the funds that are required for this as well.
Upon
inquiry by Newsfirst officials at the Parliament confirmed that in addition to the renovation of the parliamentary complex, the Parliamentary Staff Advisory Committee had also approved the renovation of the Shravasti Mandiraya and the Holiday Inn for parliamentarians in Nuwara. In 2018, a sum of 2 billion was allocated for the renovation of the parliamentary complex.
Residents of Navamadikama staged a protest this morning by blocking the Mahayangane Polonnaruwa main road. They were protesting against the unbearable water bills that the residents have been receiving.
This bill that was between 400 to 450 rupees has now increased up to 7,791.93. They didn't even provide us water, but the bills have increased.
Its construction and water distribution were done with the support of the community. The people of 8 villages fulfilled their water needs from this project. Even though this project was maintained by the Madikama Water Consumer Committee for many years, it was taken over by the National Water Supply and Drainage Board last month.
This was launched in 2004 as a water consumer committee. The villagers sold one unit of water at 7 rupees and 50 cents by pawning their jewellery to buy water pipes. In this water consumer committee that has 2,700 members, 35 members fraudulently signed and handed it over to the Water Resource Board and misled those people to get the supply. Today, the villager who received a bill of 2,000 back then is now receiving a bill of more than 43,000. How will these helpless people deal with this?
News First with the people.
The GCE Ordinary Level Examination will begin tomorrow. Commissioner General of Examinations Amit Jayasundar said that all preparations for the exams are set.
452,979 candidates have applied for this year's GCE Ordinary Level Examinations. 387,548 of them are school candidates and 65,331 are private candidates.
We have identified 730 applicants as those with special needs. A special examination centre has been set up at the Apeksha Hospital in Maharagama for in-house patients there. An examination centre has also been set up at the Magazine Prison for prison inmates.
What are candidates permitted to take into the examination centres and what is the procedure they have to follow?
Come to the examination early. Bring your admission cards. These admission cards must have a signature because they only become valid after being signed. You should also bring a valid identity card along with you.
What can be considered as a valid identity card?
We accept the identity card issued by the Department of Registration of Persons, a passport or a driver's license as valid identity cards.
What should a candidate do if their identity card is misplaced?
If you do not have an identity card, please meet the Chief Invigilator at your examination centre and get his advice. We have given them special instructions. If your identity card of admission card is lost, we have made preparations to allow you to sit for the examination despite that.
What items are prohibited to be taken into examination centres?
No candidate will be allowed to carry a cell phone into the examination centre. Also, other devices linked with the phone including Bluetooth devices or cameras. If candidates are found in possession of any prohibited item at the examination centre, the penalty will be severe. This is an offence that carries a penalty of suspension from all exams for 5 years. It is prohibited to have in your possession any form of notes. Do not cheat. We have taken all measures to identify those who cheat. We have strengthened the invigilation process.
What preparations have been made to face any disaster during the exams? Preparations have been made to face any disasters that may occur during the examination period. If any student face any disaster, they can contact the hotline of the Disaster Management Centre, which is 117, and they will provide the assistance you need. The recorrection results of the GCE Ordinary Level 2022 examination have been released. Results can be viewed through www.donets.lk or www.results.exams.gov.lk. The number of students who had applied for recorrection stands at 49,312. Based on the recorrected results, if a student has to resit for the examination, do these students have sufficient time to prepare for the exam? We inquired on this matter from the Commissioner General of Examinations. He said that the candidates who apply for recorrection have all gotten higher results and therefore such an issue will not arise.
When it comes to recorrection results during the past 5 years, only less than 1% of candidates have their results changed. Therefore, the possibility of that is low. Therefore, if a candidate wants to write their exam, they need to apply and prepare for it.
However, the Ceylon Teachers Union points out that the students are negatively affected by this.
While the O-level exam is scheduled to begin tomorrow, it was only last night that the recorrection results were released. Now, if a student has got the recorrected result and they are unhappy with the results they got and wants to sit for the examination again, can this child do that? No, they can't. They will have to do it next year. This is unfair for the students. The students of this country sat for the exam in May last year. The results came out in November. It was after that the students applied for recorrection. If the recorrection results are being released on the day before the next O-level examination, these children have been deprived of an opportunity.
Doctors have advised caution for students during the examination period as temperatures in the country soar. The Government Medical Officers Association convened a media briefing today and highlighted the measures that should be taken to ensure that children are safe.
The best solution to be healthy during this period where temperatures are high is to consume liquids as much as you can. The most important being clean water. If you have a source of clean water in your school, be it a tube well or a well, and if it is clean, it will be better for you. If not, you should definitely carry a bottle of clean water from home with you. Have a water bottle with you and consume water.
What sort of drinks should not be consumed?
There are also a few drinks that you should keep away from. Artificially sweetened drinks could increase your thirst. In addition to water, you could also drink natural drinks like king coconut water and lime juice. You must reduce your exposure to the sun as much as possible. Use a cap or an umbrella on your way to the examination center. Also, during the interval that you get during the exam, stay in the shade and refrain from going to outdoor areas that would directly expose you to the sun. This is very important.
Meanwhile, the Department of Meteorology on Saturday issued a warning noting that the heat index or the temperature felt on a human body is expected to increase up to extreme caution level at some places in the northern, north central, northwestern and eastern provinces and in the Monaragala district. Now, Charita Patyarachi, a professor at the University of Western Australia, warned that very hot conditions are forecast for Sri Lanka in the next few days. He further said high temperature and humidity combined with low winds and a heat index of 40+ degrees can be expected. Moving on to other local stories, the Communist Party of Sri Lanka has strongly criticized the government's decision to hand over immigration and immigration services to VFS Global, a private company.
The Communist Party of Sri Lanka has criticized on the government's decision to outsource immigration and immigration services to VFS Global, a private company. In a statement issued on the 5th of May 2024, the CP Sri Lanka outlined a series of concerns regarding the potential negative impacts of this move. The Communist Party of Sri Lanka criticizes the potential financial implications of the privatization deal. They claim that since VFS Global's involvement, Sri Lanka now boasts the highest visa fee among its competitors in the tourism industry. This could discourage potential visitors and negatively impact Sri Lanka's economic recovery plans.
Weekend newspapers reported on the response of Minister of Public Security Tiran Alas to the recent allegations surrounding the outsourcing of visa processing in Sri Lanka. According to the report, Minister Tiran Alas said that whatever visa fees collected will be returned to the government. He said that the visa rates were approved by Parliament unanimously in terms of regulations earlier, and even the opposition, crying foul over this matter, endorsed it in Parliament at the time. The minister went on to say that the outsourced company will get only additional charges for services that they provide. According to the report, the minister had confirmed that he will hold a press conference tomorrow and address all concerns being raised.
Because when we take a loan or when any loan is being taken, we automatically go into evaluation point.
The sex absence of any knowledge with regard to sexual education. Now, those two are key pillars.
Transparent ways of showing how money is spent. We are doomed.
Even when the LTT was in operation, when there was actually a civil terrorism issue going on in the country, we didn't have these laws. Then the question is, why do we need these laws?
So this has brought down the total GDP by about 25% in dollar terms, which was around 90 billion. Now it's around hovering around 70 billion.
There are particular focus areas that I think evolve based on the binational commission.
So like the self-esteem is really, really low. Like they don't believe anymore, okay, I can do something about that. So anymore there's no any decision making about that, and very passive.
With regards to state land. So I think this will carry huge repercussions for the future.
So the SLPP has no moral right, or basically they are lying to people if they are saying that they need power to do justice to this horrific attacks.
So I can assure you that when these latest crossover talks were happening, they're talking about 4 members in particular.
We couldn't agree with the decision to appoint Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe as the president. He opposed that and we went to opposition.
We can bring more women into the labour force. And it's not just for women. When you bring more women into, this is a huge section of the society that's left out of the productive economic process, right?
The issue that came about was the opposition was unable to read the writing on the wall.
We just can't go and argue in front of people that, you know, we don't want this ex-gentleman and we need to get a Y gentleman.
There's a greater decline, no? Then that is the situation currently, but we have to fix somewhere now.
When's the election?
Welcome back to the news. The deadline for filing claims and objections regarding the 2024 electoral list ends tomorrow.
RMAL Ratnayaka, chairman of the Election Commission, said that it will not be extended again. Accordingly, applications can be submitted through relevant Lanka Grari officers. Additionally, applications can also be submitted through the website of the National Election Commission. Meanwhile, the National Election Commission will convene next Tuesday. Chairman of the Commission, RMAL Ratnayaka, said the future activities of the Commission will be discussed there.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says that their aim is to produce smart students as well as smart farmers.
There is nothing more to say about the consequences of the decision taken in 2019. At least in 2024, let's take a step towards smart education, smart schools, smart students and smart citizens, all for a smart country. But it won't stop from there. I will continue until we see a smart global citizen. Most of the population in Rajarata are engaged in agriculture and chaina cultivation. Our policy is to develop smart agriculture. The hope I give to the farmers of Rajarata is that we will provide you with the new technology to improve the quality of local produce in your existing lands that are also suitable for exporting.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa expressed these views at the 175th phase of the Sakpala program today, where smart classrooms worth 1 million rupees were donated to Athungama Gamanu Vidyalaya in Tirappane, Mihintale, Anuradhapura. Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaraveera says that the import of eggs will be allowed since the price of eggs did not reduce as expected due to the monopoly of local traders.
මේ මාසෙ වෙනකොට අනිවාර්යෙන් බිත්තර නිෂ්පාදනයේ වැඩිවීමක් තියෙන. නමුත් අපිට පේනවා මේ බිත්තර
By this month we will definitely see an increase in egg production, but it's clear that there is a monopoly in the sale of eggs. One group is keeping eggs in cold rooms and creating a shortage in order to increase the price. Now due to the decrease in the price of the dollar and the decrease in the price of eggs in India, it can be imported at a lower price. So I grant permission to import eggs from now on as a measure to control the prices of eggs.
ඒ ක්‍රමවේදය අපිට පාවිච්චි කරන්න වෙනවා.
Also in local news, a bill to amend the Sri Lanka Telecommunications Act number 25 of 1991 has been gazetted.
The Sri Lanka Telecommunications Amendment Bill will amend the procedure to issue licenses to possess radio frequency emitting apparatus, to withdraw or vary licenses issued under that section, and to make rules in order to exempt any person or class of person from obtaining a license under that section in the public interest and in order to promote the common use of any radio frequency. The bill also aims to criminalize the action of causing public unrest using a telephone. The penal sanctions for these offences have also been detailed in the bill. The bill also proposes the drafting of a code of ethics for broadcasting license holders and also a set of guidelines to be followed by them. According to the provisions in the amendment, any broadcasting license holder who violates the guidelines issued could have their license suspended by the minister.
The High Commission of India in Sri Lanka said in a statement the passenger ferry service between Nagapatnam in India and Kankasanthore, Sri Lanka is set to resume operations on May 13, 2024. The statement adds that strengthening maritime connectivity between India and Sri Lanka was a vital component of the vision document for economic partnership jointly adopted during the visit of the President of Sri Lanka to India in July 2023.
The passenger ferry service between Nagapatnam, India and Kankasanthore, Sri Lanka, initially launched in October 2023 by the Shipping Corporation of India, will now be operated by a private company, Indishri Ferry Services. The Indian High Commission said in order to make the service affordable and attractive for passengers, the Government of India has decided to bear the cost towards applicable taxes and other charges to the tune of over 25 million Sri Lankan rupees per month for a period of 1 year. Similarly, the Government of Sri Lanka has reduced the deviation tax currently charged on passengers leaving Sri Lanka by passenger vessels and ships. The statement added that the Government of India has also extended a grant assistance of $63.65 million to the Government of Sri Lanka for rehabilitation of the Kankasanthore harbour, which was earlier envisaged to be undertaken under a line of credit. This is in keeping with India's strong commitment to Sri Lanka's economic recovery and its march towards progress and prosperity, along with and in close collaboration with India. Strengthening maritime connectivity between India and Sri Lanka was a vital component of the vision document for economic partnership jointly adopted during the visit of President of Sri Lanka to India in July 2023. The resumption of the ferry service is an affirmation of the people-centric policies of the Government of India. In his remarks during the launch of this service in October 2023, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi had highlighted that connectivity is not only about bringing two cities closer, but bringing countries and its people closer. He said that the people of Sri Lanka will benefit from the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor launched during the G20 summit in India in September 2023, as multimodal connectivity between the two countries is strengthened. The statement added that in the future, connectivity with Sri Lanka will be further enhanced through electricity grid interconnection, two-way multipurpose pipelines and setting up a land connectivity economic corridor.
Sri Lanka Grari Officers Association plans to launch a nationwide trade union action tomorrow and the day after.
Currently, the monthly fuel allowance for Grari officials is 600 rupees. Official uniform allowance is 5,000 rupees and stationery allowance is 1,500 for the whole year. Only 1,000 to 1,500 rupees is given to run an office in rural areas and 1,500 to 2,000 rupees given in urban areas. How can a village official perform his duty in this way? Therefore, we discuss these issues at length. From that, we can understand how much the government cares about these special officers in the administrative structure. structure. We will show the value of these officials from tomorrow. Our unions have jointly decided to launch a trade union action of reporting sick leave on the 6th and 7th of May and not report to work. Accordingly, the action will be launched against many issues such as not establishing the Sri Lanka Grari service, not given an appropriate salary scale, not implementing the recommendations of the Grari Allowance Committee, delaying to solve the problems until the 2025 budget and transferring the duties in our service to the officials, as well as the transferring to us the duties related to other officials. We are also staging this action, the threats and pressure by the administration against these legal steps that we are taking.
A person has been injured in a shooting along Albert Piris Mawatha in Horana this morning. The suspected gunman was arrested at Katunayake Airport this afternoon while trying to flee the country.
Two individuals who arrived on a motorcycle shot a 33-year-old while he was inside his cab and fled the scene this morning. The injured victim was admitted to the Horana Base Hospital for treatment.
අදින දහවල් 11ට ආසන්න වේලාවකදී හොරණ නගර ප්‍රදේශයේදී වෙඩිතැබීමක් සිදු වෙලා තිබුණා. මෙම වෙඩිතැබීම යම් ක්ෂයාකාරයක පෞද්ගලික ආරවුලක් නිසා සිදු වුණ බවට තමයි අනාවරණය වෙන්නේ.
A few hours after the shooting, the suspect had arrived at the Katunayake International Airport with the intention of fleeing the country. The suspect was, however, arrested by the police. The motorcycle used for the shooting was also found abandoned near a paddy field in Lihiniaraba in Valikala, Horana this afternoon.
Taking a look at other local stories, 2 people died in an accident that occurred in Kimbulawala, Thalawatugada.
The accident occurred when the 2 motorcycles collided with each other. The police said that the 2 motorcycles collided head-on-head. The 2 victims were identified as 18 and 20-year-old residents from Mirihana and Madhuwela. Meanwhile, at around 3:30 am yesterday, the police arrested a group of people who rode motorcycles recklessly on the Gaul Road. 12 suspects were arrested. 20 motorcycles were also taken into police custody.
People held demonstration in Timirigasaya today demanding solutions to Sri Lanka's pressing issues.
The people of Colombo are back again on the streets of Timirigasaya, demanding for a country free of corruption, demanding for justice and demanding for accountability.
What is it all going to do for the country? We are going to bring the country even further down. We are going to destroy the country. And even if SJB comes into power, JVP comes into power, UNP comes into power, Pohotua comes into power, SLFP comes into power, none of them have good strategies.
A team consisting 12 swimmers began their swim from Thalemana to in Sri Lanka and ended their swim from Dhanushkodi in India.
Indian media reported the team started their swim from Thalaimanar in Sri Lanka and ended their swim from Dhanushkodi in India. The 30-kilometer Park Strait stretch swim was completed in 10 hours and 10 minutes. The team was from the Ram Sita expedition in Maharashtra, India. The expedition began at 6:30 am from Talemanar and the team reached the Dhanushkodi shore at 4:30 pm. They were welcomed by the Tamil Nadu custom officers, marine police and tourists when they arrived at the Dhanushkodi shore.
Up next is The World Today.
Tens of thousands of Israelis rallied late into the night calling for a deal to bring hostages home ahead of further ceasefire talks. Protesters in Tel Aviv chanted, quote, "War is not holy, life is," end quote, with some accusing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of aiming to prolong the conflict. It came as a Hamas delegation met mediators in Egypt on Saturday. The group said there were no new developments but added, quote, "A new round will begin," end quote, on Sunday. Negotiators have resumed long-run negotiations in Cairo, brokered by Egypt and Qatar, on pausing Israel's offensive in Gaza in return for freeing hostages. The main sticking point appears to be whether the deal would be temporary or permanent. It is thought the wording being discussed involves a 40-day pause in fighting while hostages are released and the release of a number of Palestinian prisoners being held in Israeli jails. An advisor to the Hamas leader, Ismail Haniyeh, said the group was looking at the latest proposal with full seriousness. But he repeated a demand that any deal would have to explicitly include an Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and complete end to the war. The lead of the World Food Programme said that parts of the Gaza Strip are experiencing a full-blown famine that is spreading across the territory after almost 7 months of war that have made delivering aid extremely challenging. Cindy McCain, the programme's director, said in excerpts released late Friday of an interview, quote, "There is famine, full-blown famine in the north and it's moving its way south," end quote.
What I can explain to you is that there is famine, full-blown famine in the north, and it's moving its way south. And so with what we're asking for and what we continually ask for is a ceasefire and the ability to have unfettered access to get in, safe and unfettered access to get into the into Gaza, various ports and various gate crossings. But it hasn't always worked that way.
McCain is the second high-profile American leading a U.S. government or UN aid effort who has said that there is famine in northern Gaza, although her remarks do not constitute an official declaration, which is a complex bureaucratic process. She did not explain why an official famine declaration has not been made, but she said her assessment was, quote, "based on what we have seen and what we have experienced on the ground," end quote. The hunger crisis is most severe in the Strip's northern section, a largely lawless and gang-ridden area where the Israeli military exercises little or no control.
It's so hard to look at and it's so hard to hear also. I'm so hoping that we can get a ceasefire and begin to feed these people, especially in the north, in a much faster fashion, but also including, as I said, water, sanitation, medicine. It's all part of the famine issue.
In recent weeks, after Israel faced mounting global pressure to improve dire conditions there, more aid has flowed into the devastated area. Hamas announced today that its commander in the West Bank is among the 4 people killed in a raid by the Israel Defense Forces. The man is identified as Ala Shreithe, West Bank commander of the Al-Qasim brigades of Hamas. Shreithe was earlier jailed in Israel between 2002 and 2016. The IDF exchanged fire with Hamas at Daril al-Ghussun on Saturday. According to IDF, there was a 12-hour gun battle in the Tal Karim area of the West Bank between its forces and Hamas militants, in which 4 Hamas men were killed. However, the identity of Ala Shreithe was revealed by the Al-Qasim brigade early on Sunday. Massive flooding and landslides triggered by days of heavy rain in Brazil's southernmost state have killed 56 people. Officials say another 67 people are missing in Rio Grande do Sul. Nearly 25,000 residents have been forced to leave their homes since the storms began last Saturday. At least 500,000 were without power and clean water, with further rainfall expected. The extreme weather has been caused by a rare combination of hotter than average temperatures, high humidity and strong winds. More than half half of the 497 cities in the state have been affected by the storms, with roads and bridges destroyed in several areas.
The UK edition of Reader's Digest, a monthly magazine known for its curated articles and features, have shut down after 86 years in circulation.
Reader's Digest, a magazine popular for its selection of articles and interesting content, has ended its run in the UK after 86 years. The news was announced by Editor-in-Chief Eva McKevick on LinkedIn, citing, quote, financial pressures of today's unforgiving magazine publishing landscape, end quote, as a reason for the closure. McKevick expressed her sadness and paid tribute to the magazine's staff, writers and collaborators over the years. She also assured writers awaiting payment that insolvency practitioners are working on the next steps. The most recent print edition was dated May 2024 and the website is no longer accepting new subscriptions. Founded in the US in 1922, Reader's Digest reached the UK in 1938. It offered a unique blend of health tips, financial advice, recipes and more, becoming a trusted source of information for generations. The UK edition's circulation peaked at around 1 million copies per month in 2000, but went into decline in the following years. Ownership changed hands multiple times, with circulation dropping further despite cost-cutting measures. The closure marks the end of an era for the magazine industry, and Reader's Digest UK will be missed by many loyal readers.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.